Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Um, Today's webinar will be part one of a five-part series, actually, on AI. And I just want to take a moment to define um, why we're doing this. I think it is pretty obvious that you can't go anywhere these days without somebody talking about artificial intelligence and how it is the next thing, it's better than sliced bread. So why are we actually talking about it when everyone is talking about it? And the answer to that question is what we have noticed is that in the artificial intelligence space, there are people who have certainly taken upon themselves to start experimenting with artificial intelligence assistance, with virtual scheduling, with Copilot or ChatGPT to help them author content. But when you actually look at businesses and the business plan around artificial intelligence, um, we see that enterprise has been able to sort of jump in with like big investments. But when we talk about small business, medium business, they're really trying to make sure they only do investments around things that are going to yield back value. So this series is about talking about what does that actually mean for small and medium business, and what value can you get? Why is it worth it? Why should you pay attention? And so this morning, we're going to talk about why. Let me just start by talking about sort of where we are in the AI universe. So AI is not actually new. It's like 1950s kind of technology. First chatbot was in the 60s. What happens in our society is that a technology comes out and we might not be ready to receive it. And you'll see a cycle of it coming back again and again and again, sort of testing to see if we're ready. And a word, like a marketing buzzword, will sort of be take off, it'll go viral. That is really a word that describes like a thought. So in the last iteration, cloud was the big marketing buzzword. Everything was about cloud and cloud first. And when you asked people what the definition of cloud was, what you would find is that no one had the same definition. It was more of a vision of what it could look like or how their problems or challenges might be solved. So what we've entered now is a period where AI is the word, and everybody's imagination has caught on fire for, what does it mean to have artificial intelligence? And some of that, by the way, has been people talking about automation. It was actually kind of a running joke in 2024 that a huge swath of the AI projects and questions people are asking about AI turned out to be something called RPA, robotic process automation, which has been going on for decades. And it's just a cultural acceptance, a people acceptance to say, I am okay now with something taking care of this task for me automatically, where they weren't before. As we move into AI, getting better at what it does, simply the effort it takes to automate and the number of different ways something can be automated has expanded drastically, even over just a few short months. Cool. So again, what we were talking about is that there's a certain amount of FOMO about AI. People are really, really worried if they don't jump on the train, they're going to miss out on something. There's a lot of sentences that start like, not investing in AI is like, and then the next part of that sentence is usually very like doom, catastrophic, volcano kind of thing. And the truth is that we're at the forefront of investment and project in AI. There are going to be some people that are going to get the benefit of being first through the gate, and there's going to be some ugly tragedies about being the first through the gate. And so in the small and medium business universe, what we're looking for is the low hanging fruit. What we want to figure out is um, how to take this idea, this AI and the vision that it can be, and bring value immediately. And so in Mavenspire land, when we talk about AI with customers, we break it down into three kinds of AI, just for making sure that we can organize a conversation. So most businesses, most organizations have mission critical applications that they use today. And just like everybody else, those application makers are talking about AI. They're looking at how to integrate AI into their application to automate something or make something easier or take the task out of people's hands. Um, when you're talking about application integrated AI, you're specifically talking about the platform that runs the business. So in our case, we have a CRM and a financial system and a marketing system and a ticketing system and all these different systems to store and organize data. And when you add a little fairy magic in the form of AI, you start seeing things like prioritization. The things that sound more important get moved to the top, so you see them first. You see auto responses. If somebody asks a question that is a known response, it just answers them instead of waiting for that. When you see reports that need to get generated, where it's just about taking different forms of data and putting it together, that certainly could have been done before with like report editors and queries. You just have something in the middle now writing the queries and writing the editing so that the report pops out. So when you ask a question, you can see a visualization of your data. These are all things that are, if they're within the bounds of the application, it's application integrated, it's coming from that manufacturer. Now, in the middle category here, we have the virtual assistant sort of zone. Now, this is a really big zone, don't get me wrong. You have technologies like Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT or Akaflow or Motion. Those are both applications that help organize to-do lists and do scheduling for you. These are all technologies that are supposed to be sort of your co-pilot to help you do what you do every day, but potentially a lot faster and a lot easier. And it's really about working with your personal individual data. So like your calendar is part of your individual data. Your to-do list is part of your individual data. The thing you need to write today or author is part of your individual data. And so is the historical of what you've done before. And so this middle category is about you and your data and how to make that flow a lot easier, take some of the friction out, and free up cycles. So finally, we're into platform AI. This is potentially the most confusing of the three because it gets into a concept that frankly confuses everybody. There was a show on TV called Silicon Valley where there were whole episodes about this. It's kind of called the platform versus the box debate. So platforms, by and large, are systems that are put together that bring to you the ability to do many, many things. So let me give you an example. So Teams, the system we're on right now, is a communication platform. So I can have a one-on-one meeting with somebody, I can do a webinar, I can do a group meeting, I can do it in different views, I can have different content. All of those capabilities come from the platform. You could also argue that Microsoft 365 is a platform of which Teams is just an application within it. This is where the fuzzy comes in between the platform and the box. So when we're talking about AI, if I want to create an AI to do something custom that is specific to my business, I have to run it somewhere. Something I have to be able to like code or low code or turn on this artificial intelligence and have it run side by side. And where's that going to happen? It's going to be on a platform. And so when you're talking about the ways to very specifically enable your business or do something within your business, this is when you start talking about building out platforms to support that. That is also the place where when the media is talking about the big investments in AI, a lot of what they're talking about has to do with the building out of a platform, usually at scale. So if you're a really big company, you're going to have a lot of agents of AI, a lot of different things going on at the same time. And you need kind of a big platform to support that. And this is where a lot of spend comes in. So at the core of it all, the purpose of AI is to make it faster and easier to get through your day, to get through your job, to get your goals done, to reach your outcomes. And the last goal is to take all the data that exists inside your organization and in your sort of individual sphere of influence and turn it into actionable intelligence. So instead of having to read through 40 reports to figure out the one task you need to do from it, AI is supposed to come forward and say, I've read all of those reports, and this is what you need to put your focus on. This is the ultimate promise of AI, to make it easier to do what you need to do. So digging into these three areas a little more, I just want to make sure we're all super clear on what you should expect AI to be able to do within the context. So when we're talking about application integrated AI, it kind of depends on the application. If you're talking about a CRM, then it's going to be about your relationship with people and customers and how you communicate with them. If you're talking about a financial system or an ERP, it's going to be about understanding the data within and being able to make quicker decisions. If you're talking about an HR system, it's going to be about looking at employee performance, vacations, sick leave, gamification, if you run that within your organization to build a culture of achievement. Like these are all the places that AI is going to have access to data and be able to do something with it, whether that's insights, automation, or to make some recommendations. So from a business point of view, the low-hanging fruit or the outcomes you can expect from this stuff are making it faster to get stuff done, fewer errors in the doing, and having insights to help tell you or inform you what the most important thing is right now to make a difference in your business. And that can be game changing. You know, there's no more waiting 6 to 12 months looking at data in the past to understand where you need to pivot. AI can help you know that information as it's happening. And so you can make pivots in real time. So if you wanted to think of what a future vision is, what is AI's promise in 2 or 3 years? Think about 80% of the routine tasks that make up your day, you don't have to do anymore. They're automated. You're just getting some insights or a report at the end of the day or during the day that helps you pivot as you need in real time. So an example of application integrated AI, well, truthfully, again, it really depends on the systems that you use. But to give you a concrete example, Mavenspire is a Zoho house. We use Zoho ERP. So basically it has the financial and the CRM and some of the marketing control all within one giant application or set of applications. And Zoho, the organization, has invested in an AI that's called Zia. And within each and every one of the modules, Zia exists, much like you would find Microsoft Copilot existing across all of their different applications. Zia exists within this application. And because it exists in the application, it knows what kind of data is in there. So Zia does things like it looks at email coming into the system and looks at the tone of the person to try to figure out if they're frustrated, if they're happy, if something is urgent. It tries to bring it up to the top if it's an urgent situation. If uh, something doesn't work, if you get an error message, you pops in to say, the reason I think that error happened is because of this. If you change the way you're doing it, you won't get an error. Zia pops in on our website to say, hey, I see you're looking around. Can I help you with something? And what it's doing is trying to connect a potential or existing customer to the information or people they need to get an instant resolution. It's trying to make the experience faster for people. All of these are coming from one application integrated AI, but it has the context of an application that runs across the operation of our whole business. So moving on to virtual assistants, a little more detail. The outcomes that you should expect from an assistant like this is that you should reduce the time you spend on research. So in all the tasks that you do where you're having to Google something or look through documents or um, any sort of different research, trying to figure out the process that exists or the best practice for something, this simplifies this greatly. The AI takes on the burden of reading through all that information and brings to you a much summarized, here are the possibilities. And it asks, it's funny, one of the people at Mavenspire, one of our senior technologists, talks about virtual assistant AIs being like interns. The current state of AI is such that they're not always very experienced about what you're doing, and sometimes the answers you get back are not exactly in the area that you expected them to be. But as they get better at being interns, the amount of time you save goes up exponentially. And so on day one, it's a little bit of a train wreck, but on day 45, you can get a lot more done. I have used an AI to keep my schedule and keep up with urgent emails to make sure that I know that something is urgent for over a year. And having used different systems to do it, I can tell you that things are definitely getting more effective. They're getting better. But I don't even know what it would be like to try to manage my schedule by trying to send emails back and forth to people anymore. That was a problem years ago. It took like 16 emails to get to one meeting, and now it doesn't take any. Whether somebody emails me with a couple of dates and the AI checks them, books them, and calls it a day, or whether we use booking links to try to ease that process, all of that is now falling under the guise of an AI to run interference on the back end to make sure that everything fits. Now, I am the first to admit that when we first started using AI, the only thing I cared about is something taking notes in my meetings. Why? Because I could give my full attention to a meeting that I didn't have to take notes in, and I had better meetings and outcomes from it. We got to discuss more deeply in things. We had a better action plan at the end of that meeting. But truthfully, without somebody taking the notes, the problem was I would forget the action plan within 4 or 5 meetings because I'm one of those people scheduled all day long in meetings. And so having the AIs go beyond and take meetings, write out the to-do list, and then follow up to make sure that those things get done or got into the schedules of the various attendees of the meeting, that has been a little bit groundbreaking. And we definitely see um, the progress from that. Now, I will say, I've also met with and worked with customers where they too were very excited about that feature, and it didn't really work for them because for some humans, writing down the notes is how they engage in a meeting. And so having that task relieved kind of made them feel like they were not really in the meeting, right? They weren't really feeling like they were part of it, and they really didn't feel like they owned any part of it, and they were not getting the task done after the fact because they just felt a little disconnected from the whole thing. So there is definitely in all of this the human condition and understanding the personalities of people that are being helped by the AI in the way they need to be helped. So when you think about a future vision, and this is a little tongue in cheek, a fully telepathic assistant to make every minute count. I mean, truthfully, that has been the dream of every human to have like an executive assistant or somebody who was like telepathic so that they only did what you needed them to do when you didn't have to like think about and articulate and communicate with them what that might be. It just was automatic. Um, it's really hard to do it in the human world, but with AI advancing, certainly in a number of years, it being able to get ahead of the ask is super possible. And that will be amazing when everything you need is already at your beck and call. So, concrete examples anybody who's used Microsoft 365 Copilot, yes, I know there are lots of Copilots. There's the one that's the chatbot, there's the one that's agentic, there's the one built into Excel and Outlook and Teams, and they're all called Copilot. I totally get it. Those are all faces of the same want and desire, which is to be able to look at the information wherever it is and be able to do something better. Chatbots, by the way, get a bad rap. A lot of people use them to just do content creation. I want to write an email, I want to write a letter, but you can actually use the idea of a chatbot to interrogate data. It's very common use now, and you can even do this by just downloading the free software from NVIDIA's website, where if you are, in a college course and you have a bunch of notes or a bunch of books, or you're taking technical training and you want to be able to think through the answer to a question, asking a chatbot what is the correct way to do this based on the materials that I have is a huge time saver versus flipping through every book to try to find it. You actually get to have a conversation with the data to answer the questions that you have and make it more concrete for you. An amazing experience. All right, platforms. So again, a platform is where you go beyond off-the-shelf features and start going down the road of creating AI-driven systems that are unique and targeted to your business, to your organization. Right? This is beyond repetitive workflows, and it's beyond any sort of thing we've discussed so far. This is about literally creating things that can operate your business. So on the outcome side, what you should expect here is being able to solve industry-specific or business-specific problems. You have a 5-year plan. These are the places you need to get. I'm directing AI into those critical path items to make things change. Here you're going to find cost savings, you're going to find growth, and of course, goal attainment. And the future vision of this is really where AI is going. AI is going to be the operating system for a lot of different things, including businesses. And if it's the operating system, then it's going to take care of a lot of the tasks and the day-to-day of the business. Concrete examples of platforms, there are actually quite a few out there, but I would name DataQ and Dynap and UiPath are some major players in the industry, all with their own kind of unique spin. And I encourage you to take a look at what they're saying, because each of them is taking this journey to AI separately and trying to understand what people need and what their technology can do. And it's leading to different destinations, actually. So a couple of concrete examples for you. Oh, I apologize. It's kind of hard to see it on the slide, isn't it? But this is a manufacturing example, 2 different examples actually on the screen, where what's happening is a bot or an agent is being used to cover a specific manufacturing problem. Can you review the maintenance reports and tell me which things need to get fixed today? And wow, that is so small. I cannot read the second one. But given the various patterns we have going on, can you recommend a course of action to help us optimize the manufacturing floor and get something done? These are not just demos, these are actually already existing technologies, already existing things that can be installed and tuned in to an organization tomorrow. If you want a healthcare one, or a couple of healthcare ones, this is actually ones that are designed for ambulatory surgical centers, so like outpatient surgery kind of functions. You have ones like, hey, can you follow up and do the pre-op process with a patient to make sure they understand the information they need to know and that they have the process, make sure that's taken care of and everything is checked off. And hey, can you check our inventory and make sure all surgical supplies that we would need based on the surgical schedule that exists are actually on premise at least a couple of days before the actual procedure. These are all very reasonable things that have to happen in this organization, and we're literally saying that today there are AI ways to make that stuff happen, so a human isn't having to do it. More generic application, let's talk about sales for a second, reaching out to people. Anybody in sales will tell you that sometimes you have a really amazing meeting and because your schedule and the other person's schedule don't align, they just will disappear. Like you won't be able to find them or get a conversation going, and you're not always sure why. You know, you hope that if they were truly not interested, they would just tell you. It doesn't always work that way. So how about having an agent that can reach out to the person and spend the time trying to, schedule the next meeting or send some additional information that is intelligent enough that if they reply and ask for something, it can just give them what they ask for. It can actually do what's called the nurture cycle to help them find the information they need. And when they're ready to come back for the next meeting, even book it for them. So it just makes it a little less frustrating for your own people who are trying to reach others. And for the customer side, it's a very responsive, like I'm there when you need me kind of ability to have resources at their beck and call. So it's a better employee experience, it's a better customer experience, and it's one agent doing it. Obviously, you can use AI these days to do things like help you target. Hey, can you tell me all the customers who have ever wanted to use this widget? Um, Definitely technology that exists today inside the AI sphere. So, biggest thing to remember about a technology journey, about anything with a hype cycle, is that it's not perfect. So, good example for you. Um, I mentioned at the beginning that I had spent 20 minutes on HeyGen yesterday, and because they had over the last year gone through several generations of technology that takes your personality and makes it into an AI avatar. So 20 minutes to build the new avatar now. Um, I actually had built out, a little video to like play during this webinar. When I went back this morning to grab the link to go ahead and play the video, there was a big error message. Right? Sometimes the technology underpinning AI, which is very complicated, it breaks. It's complicated. It needs to be serviced. It needs to be overseen, and it isn't 100%. So sometimes it will have interruptions. Now, those interruptions, does that mean it's not more efficient or doesn't save you anything? We don't know right now. Like for some people, having an hour outage that it saves 40 hours is still a net positive situation. And some people, if you need it from 9 to 5 and it breaks at 10, like you suddenly have a gap where you have to put something else in its place to cover when it's not available. If you're using it as your communication center where people call in to schedule and there's no one answering the phones, that can be a big deal. So it sort of depends on its use. But you should understand that in this journey, it's from the failures that people take the leap forward to the next generation. So it is kind of a journey. Things are going to improve over time. Investment in this area will continue to grow. There will probably be some swerves in terms of where people focus on investment as the things that do really, really well get more, and the things that are maybe a little rough are getting a little less as they're taking time to incubate to market. I can tell you that regardless of what kind of AI thing you're looking at, the number one thing to look at is your data. Understanding what data you have and how clean it is key. A lot of AI projects run into trouble or run into big delays just because the data isn't ready for the AI, and data is the fuel. So if you don't have good data, you're not going to get very far. We always recommend inside Mavenspire that people start small. We want you to have a clear understanding of the outcome you're trying to achieve and why that's important to the business and why that's important to everyone around the table that's talking about being on the project, so that it's a more of a conversation about whether it made the outcome that everybody intended. Did it open up new possibilities that everyone thought was even possible before? Or did it fall short, and why? Because this is going to be a journey, and that means you're going to have to reiterate over it multiple times. There's going to be mistakes, learn from the mistakes, figure out what worked, move forward with what worked. And probably the hardest thing that people go through is when you're evaluating investments in this kind of stuff, If something kind of works, you probably should kill it. If something definitely works, you should probably scale it. Mhm. Being quick to fire and sort of scaling things in a process way are two of the hardest skills for organizations to master. You're dealing with a lot of human change management in both situations. If somebody is seeing the promised land where a lot of their work goes away, but it's not perfect against the organizational goals, and you say you got to go back to doing it the old way, they're not going to be happy. And so you have to make sure that everything is narrated as part of the journey. We see what worked, we see what didn't work. We want to focus on what worked, and let's make that happen. All right, so back to the fear of missing out. So why is this not optional? Why why do you have to start thinking about and working with AI? The hard truth is that by the time this has been vetted to where it's perfect in every single way, your competitors will probably be ahead of you. The competitors you haven't even seen yet will be ahead of you. There are whole brand new organizations coming into existence that are born on AI and simply can do it faster with a less frustrating experience. In the same way, there were companies that were born in the cloud that have really challenged the brick and mortar retail legacy organizations. This is going to happen again with the born in AI kind of scenarios. Hmm. The costs associated with a pure play, cloud based, AI based organization at scale versus one with a lot of employees, from just a pure customer service point of view, the economics are just amazingly different. Not to say that one is better than the other at this point, but the economics are different. So that means there's going to be a lot of small players able very quickly to do some really big, complicated things at scale and just race past people, right? It used to be sort of the joke that in the software as a service, born in the cloud sort of organizations, you could have a team of 6 or a team of 12, starting to do better than legacy organizations of hundreds. This is going to even be more exponentially diverse. You can have whole call centers down to 2 individuals and some AI in record time. You can have whole logistics processes AI enabled and take all of the people out of it and still be able to flow. And there are lots of companies already moving themselves to sort of the digital platform world where they will be able to be a cog in the new order of AI enabled organizations. So you're going to be able to pass paper, but it's not really paper, it's just bits back and forth to create massively complicated organizational structures with just all API calls happening behind it. In short, there's going to be a lot of change in the next couple of years across a lot of different verticals. And so if you aren't figuring out where it's going to be helpful to your organization, if you're not starting to think about the changes that you need in your organization with the new what is possible, you're going to be behind. And that's going to be painful. So right now, focus on the places where you have the biggest challenges, right? What is your competition doing that you can't? Where are you not able to find the people and resources you need? And where does the economic model not work for just hiring more people? How do you start working out the cultural issues of change? How do you work on continuous change cultures? How do you figure out um, how to get everyone used to the idea that nothing should ever be a stasis point? Everything should be a journey, and you're just a place on the journey, and get everyone kind of used to that. That will save you a ton of time later when you're trying to make rapid change. Make sure that you understand what your customers need, where you are in the customer experience and the employee experience process. Understand where people are frustrated. Where is stuff sort of ridiculous in your current processes? And then kind of look at what is your target market. What is your TAM? And is that right? Is it bigger than you think now? Is it smaller than you think now? Are you doing something today which is getting replaced by technology? And how do you want to pivot now? These are all of these big questions that are not about starting up an AI pilot. It's about understanding the culture and plan and strategy of your own organization and its place in the bigger world. So, sort of a wrap up here, we're still in the place where we're talking about why. Why should you be thinking about AI? Why is it for every size company? Why does it mean differences are coming, change is coming? So again, just keep your eye on what it is to operate a company these days. Where are your staff frustrated? Where are you making guesses? Where would data be amazing? How many pivots do you make a week? And what causes them? Is it emotional, word of mouth, hard data? We're in the information and intelligence age now with the rise of AI. And so if you don't have the hard data to back up the emotion, you're missing something that other people have. Where do you need to double down to hit your plan? Where are you falling short? What is missing from that? And what are you willing to let go? Change comes along, and if you have a lovely 5-year map, you could find that some of it is no longer relevant. Right? If you can let some work go, either because it's no longer in the plan or because it's not important to the business, but it still needs to get done, AI is a great place to send that kind of work. And so from these questions, you can figure out where the good pilots start, the high value projects and the low value projects exist. And truthfully, if you need help, reach out to us. It's what we do. We can help you walk through the process, workshop, think through, and even prototype kind of your first steps in trying to figure out what will AI do for you and what do you need it to do for you. AI levels the playing field with enterprises. It doesn't matter what size you are anymore. It matters what your differentiated, unique thing is and who knows about you. And AI is going to change the game on how visible you are and who can come and do business with you. It's going to be an amazing time. All right. I'm looking and I don't see any questions. I hope that this has been an educational experience and a useful one. And just a reminder, this is episode 1 of a 5-episode series. I believe our next episodes, the next webinar is about who should be involved with AI. Common misconception on who should be running the show on those. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.